Hi everyone, I'm Bella.
And hi, I'm Sanya. Welcome back to our Pride Month series, where we explore identity, mental health, and what real inclusion looks like.
In our last episode, we explored systematic inclusion and emotional labor and with DI consultant Sonal Jiani.
And today, we're joined by someone who's been building safer and bolder platforms for people within the LGBTQIA plus community and fostering empowerment for a very long time. Ram Krishna Sinha, the co-founder of Pride Circle and Rainbow Bazaar.
From entrepreneurship to corporate advocacy, we'll talk about mental health, economic equity, and how visibility creates real change.
Great. So let's get to it. Ram, thank you so much for joining us today and having this conversation with us. I'd love to start off by asking you about your journey. What has led you here today, and what kind of inspired the founding of Pride Circle or Rainbow Bazaar?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here. That's a long story, actually. uh, so my journey in DEI has been completely not based on my education. By education, I was an engineer. I had a decade-long career in core VLSI. I had nothing to do with DEI, but my journey of being gay and realizing that companies don't know much about it. They also feel like this is not something they need to have a conversation at the workplace. And I'm like, let's roll back 20 years ago. I know I'm a little old, but there was still Section 377. There were very limited visible corporates that were talking about LGBT inclusion at that point of time. There were members of the community in companies who were suffering because uh, of discrimination, because of challenges they were facing, but they felt they didn't have a voice, right? They also felt very isolated because they didn't know who to reach out to. And my journey of like finding voice for myself and dealing with workplace led me to find a community of people who were out, who were there, and I felt like if they can have it, I can too. And I can foster the workplace as well, which is inclusive. When I started this journey, I would get questions like, "Oh, we don't have LGBT people in India," or "This is not a workplace conversation," or a lot many times. Also, there's so much misinformation about this. Like a lot of people felt like this is something wrong. How can they support it, right? Um, and as I was having conversation in Intel, similarly, I started talking to leadership of other companies, and they're in a very similar space. Like, this is very personal about someone's sexuality. Why do we need to talk about it at the workplace? And there is no problem, right? Like, because my HR dashboard is clean, there's no one who has complained about being harassed or being discriminated for being gay or trans or any of that. So why solve a problem that doesn't exist, right? So that starting the journey at Intel, leading to so many more, helping so many more companies start the Pride ARGs, led me to look at the larger scale of things. Like there is so much more that needs to happen. At that point of time, we would see like DI conferences, and one panel would be around LGBT inclusion, very basic conversations on coming out. I'm also a very impatient person. I want change and now. And that led to starting Pride Circle, where I completely pivoted my career from pure tech to fully DEI. And it started with a very simple thing about getting community members and HR people in the same room. We used to call it meetups. Once a month, we'll get people in a room. We'll just have conversations of coming out, of challenges people face in the workplace, and things like that. Companies and communities were in own silos. We broke that silo, we built a bridge, and there was dialogue between the two. Companies had better understanding of the challenges community faced. They were not necessarily people of their company, but they were at least people of this industry, right? And that itself led to 8 companies starting their Pride ERGs, right? Just the very aspect of having visibility of what challenges people face at the workplace. And then it has been about building companies where we foster DI from day one, like helping with policies, with hiring, procurement, so everything a company does. Yeah, so that led me to really push forward to bring about a transformation which really touches every workplace, because as queer people, we do spend quite a ton of time at workplaces. Like everyone spends a huge part of their work, almost a third of the work of the life at workplaces. So workplaces need to be safe, and that's how it has been.
What a roller coaster journey you had, my God. I really wanted to ask Ram, what was that transition from corporate to DEI and community for you personally?
For me personally, part of it was very scary, like leaving a job that you're very comfortable with. You have done this for 10 years. Now, starting a business in itself is a scary thing. Then, starting a business in something that is considered a taboo, right? That is considered like, while this is a good thing to do because people need it, but can this sustain? Can you hire people? Can you pay people? Can you afford salaries and things like that, right? So I think it was really scary, but also it was something that I really felt that I need to do. A lot many times we feel like somebody got to do that shit, and I felt like I think why not do it yourself, right? And I found great partnership in Srini at that point of time to start this, and we had similar vision. He was trying to do that at Intuit. I was doing it at Intel. So then came the job fair, which became India's and probably Asia's first ever job fair exclusively for LGBT people. And that became really huge because then that really kind of set a movement in India about affirmatively hiring queer talent. Because till before that, I mean, we did not ever hear a lot of discussions around LGBT talent, right? A lot many times people felt, oh, these people don't have skill set, they can only be hired for very junior roles, things like that. But when we started collating data, we started presenting the data that yes, there are quite a big chunk of people who don't have access to a lot of education, right? But there are also a lot of people who are very skilled, who have masters and PhDs and bachelors and things like that. So it's not one shared community. There are different kinds of talent, skill set, and landscape. So it has been very fulfilling, but also a roller coaster ride.
I'm so glad to hear this, and I really feel and wanted to know how you felt that you could take that jump, and what would you advise to the young queer people who want to do same things like this, or to do switch or to shift?
I would say don't do things like this right now. The market is really bad to do a DI consulting work. Uh, but if you're looking at doing a business or career, any of that, I think there would always be challenges because it's the unknown, and the unknown is always scary. But the unknown is also exciting, right? I mean, what is not known, what doesn't exist, you have opportunity to build it and create it. So there's a lot of possibility. It's a lot of things that you can do and you can build and make, which it doesn't exist in the world in some sense. But also don't do it alone because it can be a really isolating journey. So build a tribe of people around you who would support you, right? Have some basic finances sorted so your dream doesn't die because you can't sustain for a few months, right? Because no business pays you from day one. And like have a support network of family, friends, or people who are expertise in the same space. Find a mentor maybe, so that you're not going just with enthusiasm and excitement, but you're actually making a plan for it, that A to B to C, right? At least not a whole 5-year plan, but at least you have some visibility on what steps are you looking at, what your product is there a real need for that product in the market. So do some of those basic research and things like that. So whatever you're trying to create, is there is an end user for it.
Thank you so much, Ram. I think that's fantastic advice, and particularly what you said around both finances and also really taking a very smart approach to building, a business. Um, I'd love to understand from your perspective, like having these economic opportunities that you're creating through Pride Circle and Rainbow Bazaar, and you know, building this awareness and education within the queer community. Um, how do you think this kind of increase in economic opportunities is changing how queer individuals feel about themselves, maybe how they feel kind of they can show up in the world, and their level of self-sufficiency or safety? Share what that transition is like when you see it happening in front of you.
It's life changing, honestly speaking. And I personally really believe that financial autonomy is key to autonomy to your own life, right? If you're not dependent on other people for finances, you have more say in your own life. Like RuPaul says, if they ain't paying your bills, pay them no mind. You can only do that when you actually no one else is paying your bills. And livelihood is crucial. I'll share two stories of change, right? When we were doing the first job fair in Bangalore, I got to know in the morning that there's a trans woman who has traveled all the way from Bhubaneswar to Bangalore, though she got to know that there's a job fair happening in the country for the first time for LGBT people. That was big vote of trust for someone who doesn't know me personally to say that, okay, there is a job fair happening, I'm going to go for it. A few days ago, I was in Hyderabad and I met this person, a trans man, who had come for our job fair in Delhi that was in 2020, that was in person. And when he got to know about like how this is a free job fair and there's no fee to be paid and nothing, he felt it's a scam that doesn't really happen, that too for queer people. But he said, let me give it a shot. He did travel then and came for the job. He got a job at Invesco, been there for a long time, and now he started his own company. In his own words, he was like, if I didn't get that job that day, my life would have been very different. I would probably still be presenting as female and be married to a man and have two kids by now, compared to a space where he's now transitioned. He is an out and proud trans man. He had a career and he has started his own company. So a job is not just paycheck. A job is a big part of who you are, and it gives you so much more access and empowerment to be yourself and build the life that you really want to. So this is like, I call this like kind of God's work, like helping people find themselves and really basic dignity in free skill, right?
I totally agree. Like, we have so many courageous stories, so many struggle stories, success stories. And yeah, still, there is a long way to go. So, my question will be, Ram, when you first imagined a queer marketplace, what shift did you hope it would create in society?
So a lot of our work is about enabling opportunities. I don't believe in the concept of just charity, like support this people because they're disadvantaged, but how can we really build systems that help them move out of that space of disadvantage to lead access to all opportunities that other people have, right? Hence the job fair part. And also the marketplace was about how do we help LGBT owned businesses, right? Because a lot of them go through the same set of issues, right? So we did like a first marketplace when we did the job fair. It was India's first ever conference job fair and marketplace around LGBT inclusion. So it was, the idea was about giving them a platform so that everyone who comes to the job fair and the conference can go and see that there are businesses that are run by queer people, and they can buy from them individually or as organizations. They can include them in the supply chain so that they are able to get business more and more frequently and from bigger businesses. Well, then COVID happened, and then in-person market didn't work, so we transitioned to a online market like an Amazon called Bazaar.shop. It's available free of cost for LGBT and businesses to list, and we really wanted to do three things here. One was to an average ally, like a person who say I'm an ally, but I don't know how to be an ally. What can I do? You say, hey, these are the few things. Like instead of buying from other platforms, you can also buy from LGBT owned businesses. It could be a small purchase for you, maybe 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees. But if hundreds of people do that, that brings such a big change to the individuals who are running these businesses. The second was about a companies that are mindful and they want to source from LGBT owned business, but it's also very difficult to get a lot of LGBT owned business that can meet the paperwork and other compliance needs that companies have, and also be able to produce at scale. Like a company wants 5,000 or 50,000 units, one business, small business may not be able to do it. So the idea was to create a platform where you can tap into from hundreds of businesses without having to onboard every one of them. And onboarding with companies is a task in itself, right? Some companies take 3 to 6 months just to onboard a vendor. So we wanted to simplify that process where you marry intent with action and make that process simpler for both businesses and companies. And again, the third aspect was about community members. Instead of going to 100 companies, try to sell things, you have one platform where you can connect to hundreds of businesses, right? So through that, we have done a lot of flea markets and a lot of companies where we help these entrepreneurs out of the stores. We have done customized merchandise and things like that with companies. So the idea was this becomes a mainstream thing, and people just basically consciously start looking at them as serious businesses.
That's amazing. I think what you shared about, onboarding vendors, like these are the things that really challenge you when you're actually building a business. It's managing procurement processes of your customers and all of these logistics and having enough resources to really expand your capacity when you're even faced with orders or retail opportunities. So thinking about this on a systematic level, I think is incredible and very enabling to solve this problem. So yeah, as a business owner, I can fully understand, and to be able to think from that perspective and offer that kind of support is really, really amazing. So thank you for what you're doing. Because you're creating this kind of marketplace and aggregating all of these different business owners, particularly when they come from queer identities and possibly also have experienced marginalization or even, violence in the past. Building a business is hard enough, and then on top of it, you have all of the other things that you're dealing with as a queer person. So what are the unique challenges that a young queer entrepreneur or someone who's wanting to build a business who comes from a history of having these challenging experiences, what are the unique challenges they're facing, and um, what sort of dynamics are you seeing within your community?
So I think the common thing with queer people is that growing up in spaces which are not affirmative, which are not validating, but rather have been very negative, be it home, where you have, or conversation school. And I think most of people have experience of being bullied in school, right? Uh, at discriminated workplace and things like that. And what it does, and I think the first part, particularly home, bullying is definitely bad. It has an impact. But the worst thing is the isolation when you're being bullied, because you don't want to go and tell people that you're being bullied for certain terms or certain things. With your child, you don't yourself fully understand what it is. You just know that they're calling you derogatory things and you don't know why. And you don't want other people to see you in that light. So the other piece is, what if the people I reach out for help, instead of trying to help me and support me, would instead blame me that why you sissy, that's why you get bullied. Why can't you be like other boys? And what it does, it chips away your self-confidence. It really puts you in a position where you shrink and become very small. I think that is one common thing that I definitely say where people face. And definitely some people have worse when they actually have to go through violence, homelessness, and things like that. So a lot of that, but the other side of it is that also brings a lot of resilience, right? It's just like every dark cloud has a silver lining. So you go through shit, but then you come with something which helps you in life. But yeah, so definitely there's more resilience, there's more jugaad, I would say. We're trying to make things work, trying to be optimistic about it. And yeah, so there's a lot of work we also do around mental health for people, partnering with organizations like yours and others to really help them find their voice, find that space, and also the aspect of community. Like running a business alone is difficult, but like there are five other people, 10 other people in your same city trying to do the same thing. So we a lot of spaces where you can actually interact with other entrepreneurs so that you derive motivation, inspiration, shared learnings as well if you're from the same industry. So trying to basically become a space where they get to learn so much from other businesses as well who have been in similar spaces. So it's very relatable journeys. And again, these are all hands-on businesses. So everything that you get is actually tested and tried. And also building that community that we are there for each other, and also like connecting with the larger ally community to show that there is opportunities and growth that is possible.
Amazing. That's so insightful, particularly this experience of isolation or judgment or shrinking into yourself that somebody who's experienced marginalization. I mean, we see it in a whole host of different types of people that we work with. So definitely as a founder, that plays a really big role because a lot of what you have to do is take risk and imagine a world that's different or bigger or more ambitious than you currently see around you, right? That's what it means to create something new. Talk a little bit about how you coach those founders or the people within the community who are building those businesses beyond the technical sides of, this is how you do procurement or this is how you do manufacturing. How are you supporting those founders to help them imagine that risk is, an option for them, that being that bold or ambitious is something that they also have a right to?
I think a lot of them are being bold and risk taking because they don't have a choice rather than this is an option. Besides the tech part of it, the other spaces, like I said, connecting with other community of sellers so that you're just connecting with more people who are in the same journey with you and learning from each other. Connecting with mentors. So we also do a lot of mentoring programs with leaders in the industry, which is around technical aspect, and some of them are also executive coaching programs that we do, connecting them with coaches from the community, so that you build both aspects of it, technical and personal, because it takes a lot of resilience to build things. It's about really reusing lived experience and trying to map it to business projects, so that uh, that business aspect of things, because it will also come with highs and lows and unforeseen challenges and things like that. But to stay the course and find support in community, I would say. Yeah.
And what do you think what comes out of someone who's in the mentality of this has to work, you know? Of course, it's challenging and brings, a certain amount of burden, but it can also be a great source of creativity and innovation. There's now, research being done in how frugal innovation can create a lot of value. When you don't have a lot of resources, you have to be very, very creative. So similarly, when you don't have a lot of options, you create magic sometimes. So talk a little bit about what you've seen that is very inspiring in that setting.
I would definitely say that that is something India is an example of, where the West makes a movie for a budget. In the same budget, we actually send a satellite to Mars or Moon or things like that. So frugal invention has been part of being an Indian, I would say. So it definitely is like, but at the point is like staying in that zone and having hope that this will work and there is a way forward, and you keep iterating and keep trying to make things work till the time people are in that space, there's still progress. It gets very difficult for people to continue, let's say, building a business or a career, or things like that.
So, Ram, what are some ways we can reduce this burden queer leaders often fail to constantly represent or perform strength that they have to prove that yeah they can work in workplaces like MNCs or some international companies.
I think performing is part of being queer. Performing in early childhood that you fit in, you're just like everyone else because you just need to survive through, and being yourself is just not a choice, not an option. So I think we just learn to perform sooner, realizing how the world is and where are we. I think just where people are generally more watchful and mindful of surroundings, be it you're visiting another place or you're out on the street, aware of your situation, whether it's safe to be or not, right? So performance is a part of it. The other aspect of projecting strength is what is the alternative? Like, there is no one to pick up behind you. People who have been rejected by their own parents and families, who do you look back for support? There is no alternative. You have to perform and project strength and build yourself, right? It's like faking it till you make it. And it definitely comes with its own challenges and burdens. But I think slowly that has changed. Slowly, with so much more visibility, we're seeing more and more young people coming out who are not burdened by that aspect of performance, who are being themselves. So visibility has helped. The change of laws in the country has helped. More better representation in films and movies has helped.
How are you building Pride Circle or Rainbow Bazaar in a way that it allows people to take some time to be weak or at least take some time to process?
We are a fully remote company from day one, so people work from home. That's your convenience. And we have team members from across the country, from Chennai to Varanasi to Delhi to Hyderabad, Kolkata, everywhere. And we are also very mindful of our own culture about having space, year-end breaks where we do like last 2 weeks of December is mandatory shutdown, so everyone gets time to spend time with family, friends, come back rejuvenated, and all of that. So, and also like mental health conversations and breaks in that space. And we also like encourage staff to make mistakes and learn from that. And so people feel comfortable to come and share that this went wrong because you're not being penalized for that for making a mistake, right? And the idea is that collectively as a team, we come together and solve it for it instead of trying to say, oh, you made this mistake and blaming someone. Despite being fully remote and virtual, you still feel that warmth and care that people have for each other in the team.
Yeah, I can totally relate to it. Like, if the workplaces are non toxic or inclusive, automatically we really feel so much comfortable and welcoming that we can work on our full potential. How do you personally navigate burnout or emotional fatigue while holding space for so many others?
I am an introvert person. I so I kind of drain out if I have to do a lot of social things. So I'm personally aware of what I am and what I like. So I try to build things in a way that gives me space to recover and do things that are really like balances out that space, right? And when it gets too much, I draw out. I say my team, hey, I'm taking a mental health week off, and I will come back a week later. So obviously plan it in a way that doesn't affect things. The idea is yes, burnout, stress, all of that is part of it, and building space that you have space for yourself while you hold space for others is very important.
Ram, I'd love to understand from you also, like there has been this massive shift towards creating more inclusive, space for the queer community in many ways. What are some of the things that you wish that a community that it's still also healing would also realize about themselves? In doing so much visibly, sometimes we hollow ourselves out in the process. So, what are some of the things that you would wish for within the community that would create that safety and create something that's sustainable and long term?
Less judgments for everyone. Sometimes I feel that room for error. I know, like as a community, if we've been wrong for a very long time, anything sensitive feels like an attack. I think it also makes us hyper vigilant in that sense. I think a little bit of space there where we make mistakes and still hold space to continue conversation instead of choosing sides and being very angry with each other within the community as well. So I think that is important, like uh, building spaces which are diverse and difficult, where you can have difficult conversations. It's not an echo chamber, right? And if you look at world around is changing so much, right? Right now, it's a very difficult time from a pride perspective. If you look at this is the most silent Pride month from a corporate engagement, from corporate visibility in Pride marches and sponsorship to things like that.
Ram, there's been so much progression made in this space of creating inclusivity and visibility and pride for the community. But on the other side, there's been a lot of blowback. And this last year or two in particular, that blowback has been building globally, and that is having an impact even in India. So, what does the community need to be thinking about to become more resilient?
For people who already have less and being told to manage with even lesser is a very hard thing, right? Like if you talk about queer rights and movements, we just started to get visible, started to get jobs, and started to build things visibly and proudly. And one of the key partners in that journey have been companies, I would say, like companies that started creating safe space, started with hiring and all of that. Now with the executive orders in the US and things like that, the anti-DEI push that has meant more silent engagement. I think the way through would be again building resilience, coming together as a community and looking after each other while we continue to build allyship at home, at workplace, and all of the spaces.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect, like what you're doing with creating a marketplace and a space for for LGBTQ businesses. It's doing exactly that. You're not relying on corporate sponsorship. You're not relying on, someone giving you jobs or money. You're actually saying, no, this is an ecosystem that can sustain itself. So that's, I think, a really strong example of not having to rely on charity or, like somebody's mood to be supportive. These are people who are not victims to a system. They are in themselves empowered and have resource and can create so much value. So amazing. I love that.
What's next for Pride Circle and Rainbow Bazaar? I really wanted to know.
I don't know that. uh, from a next perspective, we set up an office in the UK. The idea was to make Rainbow Bazaar a global platform where we're not just limited to India, but make it a space where people around the world can find space. The idea is to build a space where we are able to support people wherever they are, but they are able to earn a livelihood through Rainbow Bazaar. So that's the next big goal. It's a massive goal. And from Pride Circle's perspective, um, we will continue to build and get more and more companies who are on the journey of inclusion. And through the Workplace Equality Index, we are benchmarking companies around how they're doing around LGBT inclusion. So we do like a top 10 gold, silver, bronze. So awards for companies. So they know how they're doing compared to their peers, and we give them a lot of feedback so that they can get better. Building advocacy spaces so that they get to learn more about lived realities, and the solutions and strategies are based on reality and are really able to make positive impacts to lives of poor people.
Amazing. And for allies listening, like me, what's one action they can take today that moves the needle from good intention to real support?
Go to rainbowbazaar.shop and buy something. I believe every individual have a lot of agency, and my only request is do whatever you can. Like, be a very small thing like watching a queer movie with your family at home, reading a blog, supporting someone from the community, being a space, right? There's research that says for queer people, knowing just one ally can be the difference between life and death. Like, just knowing one ally can prevent people from taking drastic steps, right? So you can be that ally. If you are in a company, talk about LGBT inclusion, show up for events, volunteer with the ERG. If you're a parent, have that conversation at home, have that conversation at school, right? If you're in online spaces, create a safe, positive space, visible space. So there's so much you can do. Just find what works for you, but do something.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So now we're like moving on to our final section. So we're gonna play a quick round of a game called Truth of the Trade, Ram. We're gonna give you two phrases, and you just have to pick one that feels more true or close to what you prefer or your experience. Make
Okay.
sense?
And you can explain your choice in one line if you would like. Startup visibility or business sustainability?
Sustainability, because livelihood is dependent on that. Visibility doesn't pay bills.
Yeah, bills are important. Pride parade or vendor invoice paid on time?
Invoice paid on time, every damn time.
Safe space or brave space?
Safe space. We find
Diversity,
bravery when we have safety.
diversity policy or human conversation?
Policies, I would say, because while conversations are important, it hits the fan that you rely on policies to get out of situations. So you really need policies. We sometimes underplay the importance of good policies at workplaces, but they're crucial.
Success metrics or mental peace?
Mental peace. You can't have
Mental
lunch
peace.
when you don't have mental peace properly. So mental peace is paramount.
Community first or systems first?
I don't know what kind of systems we are competing against the community. I'll choose the community here.
Amazing. Thanks, Ram. Thank you for playing this little game with us. And
Did I win
really,
something?
you have won a lifetime of doing this amazing work.
Thank you so
Um,
much for having me.
oh, thank you. And I think one thing for me that I really feel has been emphasized through this conversation is that equity is not a concept. It's something that can be built through both systems and community, platforms and safety and care. So really thank you for emphasizing that, embodying it in all the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your work through Pride Circle and Rainbow Bazaar is a living example of what happens when we trust queer potential and make room for it to grow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone who's been listening in. So, if you found this conversation meaningful or inspiring in any way, and you're particularly encouraged by Ram's work, much like us, please do share it forward, especially if you know someone who is building their own safe space that allows people to be brave. Um, and I think that might be the best line of today, by the way.
And stay tuned, we will be updating. Thank you.
Thank you.